Okay, good morning, and you're on to grade 10 mathematics, still in the NECO revision series. The essence of this revision is that we usually would love to use the just concluded JS3 exam, the NECO version, to help you brush up and get yourself ready for the SS1 work. So for me, I usually like to clear the questions before I take you into SS1 work, so that if there are areas you are not very familiar with, you can begin to prepare your mind for such things. So, but having said that, we'll go straight to the questions for today, and we'll kick off with question 51, which says that the circumference of a circle is given by the formula. So circumference of a circle is given by what formula? 2 pi r. Now that's the circumference of a circle. The circumference of a circle is what? 2 pi r. Now another iteration could be or pi d, where d is diameter and is equal to what? 2r. So the place of 2r is taken by d. Okay, so go to question 52. What is the area of an equilateral triangle of size 12 cm? In a question like this, it would be best for you to try to draw the equilateral triangle. Let's call it A, B, C. This is 12. This is 12. There's a very interesting property of an equilateral triangle, that the perpendicular line to the base will bisect this line into 2 equal halves, bisecting these angles into what? 2 equal halves. So this will now become what? 6, and this will become what? 6. So our task, first of all, is to get H. Now, if you look at this very well, what we have is a right angle triangle. What we have is a right angle triangle such that this is 12 and this is what? 6. Okay, now we're going to look for this. And the only theorem that can help us handle this, because it's a right angle triangle, is the Pythagoras Theorem that says that h squared plus 6 squared will be equal to 12 squared. So that will mean h squared plus what? 32 plus 36 will be equal to 144. H squared will now be equal to 144 minus 36. That will give you 108. So h will now be the square root of 108. Now, to get the square root of 108, we'll try to break this number. We know that 108 is actually what? 27 times 4. We can arrange this number again to be what? 9 times 3 times 4. We break the numbers with our knowledge of perfect squares. So you hear perfect square coming into play here again. No knowledge in maths is kept in isolation. Your knowledge of perfect square would prompt you to break this number. 108 can be broken to 27 times 4. 27 can be broken to 9 times 3. If you look at this closely, we can, the square root of 9 is 3. The square root of 4 is 2. And times this one, which we don't know the square root. Because 3 is not a perfect square. So when you multiply this will give you 6 root 3. Now, what is the area of a triangle? The area of a triangle is equal to half base times height. What is the base? The base is what? 12. What is the height? The height is what? 6 root 3. This go here 1, this go here 6, and this will give me 36 root 3 is cm squared. So the area of that triangle will be what? 36 root 3. And okay, if you took that exam, this answer would have been C, and the previous one would have been what? E. Right? So that settles that question. Let's go to the next one, question 53. 53 will test your knowledge of geometry. And look at this. It says find the value of x. Find the value of x. So how do we look for the value of x? It will mean that we'll add up all the angles together and equate it to 360. So that will be x, because we know the angle at the point is what? 360 degrees. So that will be x plus 2x plus 3x plus 4x equal to 360 degrees. So add all of these together. This will give me 10x. Right with that, equal to 360 degrees. So x will now be equal to 360 divided by 10, and that will be 36 degrees. So the answer becomes what? 36 degrees. Now, question, and that option will be what? C. So what about question 54? In question 54, we're going to have that calculate the volume of a cuboid 6 cm long, 3 cm wide, and what? 2 cm high. Calculate the volume of a cuboid 6 cm long, 3 cm wide, and what? 2 cm high. How do you place that? Now look at this. It will mean that this will now be what? Volume of cuboid will be equal to what? Length times breadth times height, which will be equal to 6 times 3 times 2. And that will give me what? 36 centimeter cube. And that option will be what? D. That option will be what? D. So we proceed to question 55. Now, the diagram, find the angle marked theta in the diagram below. Find the angle marked theta in the diagram below. Find the angle marked theta in the diagram below. This is 6, this is 5 cm. So this is A, this is B, and this is C. Now, this is testing your trigonometric ratio, and there's something we use to remember that. So, Ka-tua. Now, look at this angle. What side is facing? It's called opposite. The side the angle is facing is what? Opposite. The side the angle is sitting on. The angle is sitting on this side. It's called adjacent. So obviously, this is what we are going to use, tua. So that tua means that tan theta will be equal to what? 6/5. And this will be equal to 1.2. So theta will now be equal to tan inverse 1.2. Now, how do you get this angle? How do you get this angle? How? To answer this question, we've done a good job. So this is tan inverse 1.2. That's tan inverse 1.2. How do you get the angle that is tan inverse 1.2? The trick is you get your 4-figure table. Some of these things you can actually handle them with calculator today if you have a scientific calculator. But there is another way to handle them, which is supposed to be the right thing. You get your 4-figure table, go to where you have tan. I have one example here. Go to where you have tan. go into the table. Now, when you're looking for an angle, what you do is that you move in from the table to the values on the column. But if you're looking for the value, like maybe tan, cosine, and tan, cosine, sine of an angle, you search from colon into the content. So here we're going to look at the content and look for where I have a value that is close to 1.2. And if I look at my table very well, what I'm seeing is I'm seeing something in the neighborhood of 50. That will be 50.1 19. So approximately this angle is going to be what? 50.2 degrees. So that's what that angle is going to be. I also maybe I also take out time to set specific classes to help you handle these areas. I will do that. I have specific classes that will handle certain very technical areas. It will be very short videos. Just look at certain technical areas with screen sharing and things like that. Right, now we go to question 56. So if that were to be the exam, that answer would have been C. Now let's go to 56. In question 56, we are told to find the area of a trapezium. The figure is given, and we are told to look for the area of the trapezium. This is the figure given to us. So that's the figure given to us. Now, to find the area of this trapezium, you must find this side called H. We are told that from here to here is 13. So if from here to here is 13, here from here to here will also be what? 13 cm. Are you seeing that? So how do we get the height? Pythagoras theorem. So I'm going to isolate this triangle. And I'm going to say that h squared plus 8 squared is equal to what? 10 squared. Because without getting the height, I can't solve this problem. H squared plus 64 is equal to 100. And h squared will be equal to 100 minus 64, meaning that h is equal to the square root of 36. And that will be 6 cm. So the height is what? 6 cm. Now, the area of trapezium will be equal to half the sum of the parallel sides. So half of what? AB plus CE times the height, H. What is AB? 13. What is CE? 21. What is the height? 6. So this will be what? 34 times 3. That will be 34 times what? 3. And that will give you 102. I hope I'm right with that. 102 centimeter squared. So that answer will be 102 centimeters squared. And that option would have been A in an exam setup. All right. So question 57. The angles of a pentagon. The sum of the angles of a pentagon. There's even a technique to get the sum of the angles. There's a technique to get the sum of the angles. Now, just by way of extension, if it's a triangle, it will be what? 180. If it is a quadrilateral, It will be 360. If it's a pentagon, it will be what? 540. What you observe is that as you move from one shape type to the other, like moving from one group, one polygon rather, to another polygon type, what you discover is that it is essentially a multiple of 180. 180 times 1, 180 times 2, 180 times 3. Sometimes in an exam setup, you don't need to begin to tell us 2n minus, no, you should know that the angles, the sum of the angles are essentially multiples of themselves. So for a pentagon, it is so the sum of interior angles of a pentagon is equal to what? 540 degrees. So you don't need to waste your time. So you don't need to waste your time on that, and that will now give you what? Y plus 2y plus y plus 60 plus y plus 10 plus y minus what? 10 will be equal to what? 540 degrees. So you put them together, 3y, 4y, 5y, 6y. This negative 10 will cancel out this one, and that will be plus what? 60 equal to 540. So what's the implication of that? The implication is that 6y will now be equal to what? 540 minus 60. So 6y will now be what? 480. So y will be equal to 480 divided by 6. And that will be what? 80 degrees. So we are told to find y. So that answer will be what? D. That answer will be what? D. So question 58. Find the radius of a circle if its circumference is 132. Now, we're told to find the radius. Now, remember that the circumference of a circle is equal to 2 pi r. So we're told to find the radius of a circle if its circumference is 132 centimeters. So what that means is that 132 will be equal to 2 pi r. And I'll just start by cancelling these two, and it becomes 66. So 66 will now be equal to what? 22 over 7 times r. 11 go here, give me 6. 11 go here will give me 1. Are you seeing that? Sorry, 11 go here will give me 2. 11 here, 1. 2 here, 1. 2 here, 3. So that means r will be equal to 7 times 3. And that will be 21 centimeters. So that answer is what? E. Sometimes in an exam, you don't need to be too mechanical in your solution. Depending on the exam, if you no BG, just solve this out. That's why you practice very well before an exam. It's your practicing that helps you to run fast. And it's your practicing that brings precision to your work. Right, so that's for question 58. 59, it says, from the diagram below, let's see the diagram they're talking about. From the diagram below, calculate the side of the triangle marked X. From this diagram, calculate the side marked X and correct to the nearest whole number. Now, remember, we're still going to use our SOHCAHTOA to do this. Now we look at it. This side, the angle is facing, this angle is facing this side. It's called the opposite. And the side, the angle is sitting on, or in this case, the side the angle is hanging on, is called the adjacent. So our tan will hold forth for us there. So tan 54 degrees will be equal to what? X over 100. So what is x? X will now be equal to 100 tan 54. Here, you need to go to your four-figure table and look for where you have tan. So tan 54 on your four-figure table will be 1.376. 1.376. Hope I got that right. 1.376. Okay. Now, when you multiply in tens, what you're essentially doing is move decimal places. So this will be equal to 137.6. But remember that you are told to approximate to the nearest whole number. So this is the digit of interest. This is the digit causing the approximation. So that will be 138 centimeters. All right. So that will settle that. So let's go to question 60, which is the last question for this segment. And then here you have something in this nature. Okay. All right, so that's what you have. So remember that from our knowledge of triangles, what type of triangle is triangle ABC? Triangle ABC is isosceles. How do I know this? We know that for isosceles triangle, the base angles are equal. These are the base angles. These angles are what? Equal. Are you seeing that? So if we call this angle A, I will call this angle A, we will not have done any harm. So it means that A plus 28 will be equal to 180 degrees. What's the reason for that? Angle sum of triangle. The sum of the angles, interior angles of a triangle is 180 degrees. So from here, we're going to have that 2A plus 28 degrees will be equal to 180 degrees. Okay? Okay, so this will now be what? 2A is equal to 180 minus 28, and that will be equal to 152, and A will be equal to 152 divided by 2, and that will be 76 degrees. So if this is 76 degrees, it will follow that this A plus X will be equal to 180 degrees. And what's the reason for that? Angles on a straight line. The angles on a straight line will always give you 180 degrees. I know A. So X will now be equal to 180 minus 76, and that will give you 104 degrees. So the answer will be 104 degrees. So that question would have been D as the option.